welcome to Dark History. My name is Deloria. I am here to walk you. Take my hand. I am here to walk you through the dark historical history of Valentine's Day and how did we get here? How did we get to overpriced cards, overpriced stale candy? How did we get here? Buying people cars and getting in debt to buy expensive jewelry. How did this all begin and where did it come from? Yes, I am here to guide you through that. And this is actually a dead playlist on this channel, so I'm here to pump some love back into it and bring it back to life. So it's Valentine's Day weekend. What better weekend to do this? So enjoy. Now, disclaimer before I get into the video, I'll be discussing things that can be a little tough to hear: animal sacrifice, blood, knives, violence, sex, sexual relations that were mutual, and unfortunately some things that were not mutual, child endangerment, things such as this. Now, if any of these things make your stomach turn, they make your skin crawl, they put your mind not in the best headspace, please, you're not obligated to stay here. Enjoy some of my most recent uploads on this channel outside of this video. Or, if you just want to turn the TV off and just get on with your day, get on with your day. Do what you need to do. But if you have some time and you wish and you can proceed, then welcome to Dark History, Valentine's Day. All right, so where does Valentine, the name, come from in the holiday Valentine's Day? Personally, on a side note, Valentine, Valentino, I just love that name. Okay, I used to watch a little girl, and her name was Valentina, and it fit her so well. Now, Valentine actually has a lot to do with the Catholic Church. So the Catholic Church, in regard to this holiday, actually acknowledges two different saints, of course, with the last name Valentine or Valentinus, according to what research you're looking at. Now, both of these saints had a life full of love, acts of love. And after I explain their story to you, you can maybe understand why the Catholic Church dedicated this holiday to these two individuals. Now, we cannot mention Saint Valentine without mentioning the Roman Emperor Callidius II. I'm such a history buff, you guys, so I'm gonna geek out while making this video. I'm going to try to control my breathing. I do sound super congested, and my throat feels like the Sahara Desert, but I'm stoked to be here. So I'm gonna take a deep breath. The first saint we're going to talk about is Saint Valentine. He lived in Rome. And Callidius II, he was a man that he knew where Rome was going. I would say that. He knew where Rome was at and the potential of Rome. And he knew that one of the biggest things that protected Rome in its growth was Roman's military defense. And Rome had a great army. We can question the morale and the values of Rome during this time, which was during Callidius II's reign. Callidius II, his reign was 268 to 270 AD. Now, this time in Rome was on the grow. And Callidius II, he was definitely an emperor that knew of Rome's potential and where Rome was going, but also knowledge where Rome was in the moment. And he knew in order to protect Rome and where they were going, Rome had to keep its military defense on lock. Nothing could destroy the Roman Empire, and nothing could get in between this Roman defense line. No. And 99% of the time, the Roman army was men. No problem with that. I get it. Have we not seen Gladiator? We understand. Callidius II began to observe his army. He started taking notes. And he began to notice something. There was two different types of soldiers. Soldiers that were married and soldiers that weren't married. And he noticed when you compare the two, soldiers who had a family tend to be, this is just my speculation, okay, tend to be less committed. And from his perspective, he's like, you guys, do you not realize that you were part of a bigger picture here? One day, I don't know what they did in Rome. I don't want to, I'm probably being really stereotypical here, but when you think about Rome, you think of group of people having relations, wine, battle, war, art. studying theology, philosophy, studying time. I don't know what they were doing this day. Had to be awkward though, because the Roman emperor took upon himself to announce to all of Rome, look, look here, okay? This is what he was saying. Look, you idiots who are married, you're dumb. But if you're married, stay married, okay? Whatever. But if you're single, no, you will never mingle. You will never get married because I am outlawing marriage. Yeah, keep you on your toes. Your heart, all that you are, belongs to the Roman Empire, aka me. So, yeah, no one's getting married. I just like the faces or everyone like in the common hall or wherever they announce these things, like the court. I don't know. We're just like, oh, did he just say we can't get married? So if you were in love with someone, that sucked for you. So anyway, Callias makes his announcement. He makes his decree, and Saint Valentine obviously heard about this. It was like, dude, like you can't tell people not to get married. Like that is a gift from God that you cannot interfere, you cannot rob that away. That is just a human right that God gave his creation. This is like Saint Valentine's like mentality and approach to this decree that was sent out. So, Saint Valentine being a lover of love actually began to marry young lovers who wanted to tie the knot in secret. He ordained and honored their marriage. Now, of course, when Cledius II heard about this, he was beyond enraged. How can you go against me, your emperor? Now, I couldn't find any research. I don't believe St. Valentine got arrested due to this reason. I don't think so. But it was the next thing that St. Valentine did that broke the camel's back for this emperor. So during this time in Rome was actually dealing with a very high religious tension. And let me just break to you why really quick. So Rome, during this time, had a very paganism system. How they view sex, how they view love, how they view worship, prayer, offering things, money, goddesses, God, who they saw as their ruler and their overseer. It all came back to paganism. Now, during this time in Rome, there was a faith rising, a different type of faith. What was this faith, you may ask? Okay. This faith was actually called the Way, and those that followed it were called followers of the Way. Okay, imagine that. Pretty simple. Okay, straight to the point. Now, you may be asking, well, like, who is this? Like, what kind of religion is this? So, back then, the Way is what we would call today Christianity, and followers of the Way are what we would call today Christians. Now, obviously, paganism, Christianity, polar opposite sides of the religious spectrum for so many different reasons, okay? So this faith was increasing, and Christianity during this time was increasing in numbers. Now, think about this from a historical standpoint, okay? If you, like Cledius, if you honor paganism and all its systems, its way of life, its way of viewing everything, and all of a sudden this new faith pops up, okay, and you own Rome, like you own Rome, and this new faith pops up, it's making people question what Rome does, how Rome operates, and many people took it as a threat in Roman leadership, and Cledius II was one of those. So, what's it got to do with St. Valentine? So, St. Valentine took upon himself to rescue many of these Christians. Why? So, due to the high religious tension and Rome just being the boss during this time, a lot of Christians were arrested, persecuted, tortured, and abused in Roman prison systems by Roman soldiers. Okay? And St. Valentine did not think this was right. He took upon himself to actually rescue many of these persecuted Christians, and even, there's some documentation to support, even preventing some of their arrest. Now, okay, Cleves was like, okay, fine, you can marry people in secret, fine. If you want to be a cute honeymooner maker, whatever. But what you're not gonna do, you're not gonna come here and just completely erupt our religious belief system. You're not gonna do that, and you're not gonna rescue Christians from a prison. You are not gonna do that. You're not gonna be this leader, this almost like this hero for the faith of Christianity. No. So Cleus II made an order out on February 14th for Saint Valentine of Rome to be decapitated, and that is exactly what happened. Really unfortunate, Like I know, like I was reading the Bible. Well, I read the Bible every day, but just think about like how many saints were killed, and how many people were killed when for their faith and rescuing other believers, and I don't know, just really made me think. Made me think. So anyway, saint we're going to talk about is Saint Valentine of Terni, and this guy had a different story than the previous saint we discussed. Now, Saint Terni was a lover. He had a lover. He had a lover. Okay, he had a love. Not too sure if him and his lover had relations, but he had himself a little lover. Okay. Now, during his time in prison, he was tutoring a young girl named Julia, who was blind. Now, according to documentation, Julia and Saint Valentine grew to bond, and they actually fell in love. Now, who was Julia? Julia was actually the daughter of Saint Valentine's jailer. Yes, the man that had this saint locked up. Saint Valentine was in love with his daughter. And it is said that when they were praying one night to God, Julia's blindness was actually healed. She can see. Now, unfortunately, before they're able to really enjoy life, possibly Saint Valentine get out of jail, Julia finally able to just enjoy life, no longer blind. Julius II and Saint Valentine met. And not too sure this happened in jail or maybe in a court. Don't really know the exact location of it, but I'm just imagining jail. I'm just imagining this happening in jail. And Saint Valentine was a brave man. He actually approached Cleus II and tried to convince him to convert to Christianity. Now I explained Cleus II's views on Christianity, so we all know this did not go well. He was not in the mood for Saint Valentine's games. Now he flipped it on him, and he asked Saint Valentine, well, I guess more of a command, if you renounce your faith, I might spare your life. Saint Valentine, to his last breath, did not deny Christ. And outside of Rome, on February 14th, he was also beheaded. Now, when people went back to the journals, the notes that St. Valentine left, it is documented that on the eve of his death, he actually wrote Julia, his sweet lover, a sweet love note, and on it was signed, from your Valentine. This is where many people believe that we got this phrase from, that is still used today. Now, when I was doing my research on Valentine, this saint, it mentioned Julia being a young girl. That was a little awkward for me. I didn't like the way that was worded. So I'm not too sure if it was she was actually like a young girl or just younger than him. And I'm not too sure how young or how old Valentine was during this time. But yeah, that was his story. So it's obvious that Cleus II had a problem with saints. He had a problem with love. He had a problem with the saints' faith of Christianity. And he took care of business. And he had a particular day he liked to kill. He had a particular way he liked to kill. Now, both of these saints, of course, their death and burial happened on February 14th, believed to be around the end of Cleus II's reign. Okay, so now we got all the cute little details, all the lovey dovey. Now, where does this stuff get dark? According to documentation, it is most likely that Valentine's Day that we know today is actually a shoot off, a great value version of an even more extravagant, sexually violent, bloody, sexually charged pagan festival called Lupercilia that is actually acknowledged on February 15th. Now, this festival is an homage to the Roman god of agriculture. Now, where did this festival begin? Where did it come from? So this festival actually has a lot to do with two young boys in Greek mythology. I feel like I'm always getting like Roman and Greek mythology like confused. I feel like I'm using them interchangeably. Apologies. I feel like a lot of people do that. I don't know. Okay, so anyway, two young boys named Romulus and Remus. Yes, these two young boys. Now, Romulus and Remus, according to Roman legend, they are the foundation that Rome stands on. Yeah, okay? What a freaking responsibility. Their uncle, King Amulius, Amulius or Amulus. I am not too sure. I'm probably being super extra with the pronunciation of that name. But he did not like them. He did not like them. And the reason why, according to my research, he did not like them due to their mother breaking her vow of celibacy. Now, this is her vow to not have sex before marriage. She broke it. Obviously, she had babies. Now, instead of him just being a good uncle, but you know what? I don't really agree the way your mom lives her life. I don't really agree. I really wish she saved herself. He could have just been like, I'll take you guys as my own. I'm not too sure where your dad's at. I don't know if their dad was around, but I'll put you guys under my wing. I could be a good uncle. No, 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 no. He wanted to throw him down the river. So he put out an order for these young babies to be thrown down a river, the Tigris River to be exact. I know, quite like, come on, really? That's a really extreme response here. And a servant heard about this devious act taking place. So the servant found these two young boys that they were going to go down the river. Instead of having them thrown to the river, the servant found a basket, put both of these twin boys in this basket, and according to legend, he prayed to their Greek. Yeah. Now, a servant heard about this devious act that this uncle was going to do, and he took pity on these young boys. So he found these young boys, put them in a basket, and prayed to the god river of Greek mythology that this god would just protect these two young boys. My throat went out on me, as I was saying. So this servant prayed to their god of the river to protect these young boys, to just have them float somewhere safe. So according to legend, this god flew these young boys down the river and placed them actually inside a fig tree where they got stuck in the branches, completely safe from the full river. Now, who found these two young boys? A she-wolf did. And the she-wolf took these young boys as her own and took them to a hill. This hill was called Palestine Hill, and at the base of this hill, put these young boys in a den and raised these young boys as her own, as if they were her cubs. Fun fact, the iconic statue that we see in arts around the world of two young toddler boys feeding from the breast of a wolf, this image here, it actually comes from the story. No. These young babies became young boys, began to grow, and they eventually found by a shepherd and his wife, who took them as their own. As these young boys became young men, they learned their father's trade. And yes, this king Amulius thought Amalus, maybe, this king thought he got away with murder. No, he did not. These two young boys, now young men, found their uncle, got revenge on their death, and murdered him. Yeah, okay. Okay. You gotta watch, the things that you say you're gonna do. Okay? You just gotta watch out. But dang, that was according to this legend, that was a quick snatch, okay? These two young boys are the founders of Rome. And they came back to this cave that they were raised in by the she-wolf, and they named it Lupercal. I'm probably really butchering that. As time went on and Rome began to get built and grow, there became this massive festival to celebrate Rome's victory and just their dark origins. Over time, this festival became Lupercalia, like I mentioned earlier in the video. And let me just break down to you guys how this festival was celebrated and all the shenanigans that took place. I view the world from a very spiritual standpoint. There was something that was easily glazed over, but I caught it. When these priests would put the blood on their head, it was documented that they would actually break out in laughter. Laughter. And my thing is, what's so funny? This is kind of serious. Like, we're in a dark cave. The moon's most likely out. Sun's probably coming down. Okay, we all know what's going to happen tonight. And we're cutting animals open. And we're laughing. And I couldn't help to think, what were they opening themselves to? I'm not saying you got to believe this or not. But it just makes me think. Because when blood is shed, it's a covenant. It's an oath, a vow. There's a commitment to something. You open yourself up to something good or bad, in my opinion. And I'm just like, what was going on? But they just broke out in laughter. But anyway, yeah. So after they put the blood on their head, and these poor animals are just, I don't like the image. I don't like that image. Forehead. And there's actually this almost like a wool sack that is dipped in the goat milk and it's white. They smear off the blood. And this is actually where we get the two iconic colors with Valentine's Day: red from the blood of the animals and white from this wool milk drenched sack. Now you like that, huh? All right. So anyway, now the blood is wiped off, and it does not end there. The animals are then skinned, and we get things such as goat hide, which is like the skin of the goat being super stretched. And the priests took it upon themselves to actually cut strips out of the goat's skin. These strips are known as fubarias, thongs, another name for them. And furia is actually where we get February from. And fibria, when translated, actually means purging or purifying. So think it as like these strips of purification from goat skin. And yeah, okay, yeah. And they dipped these strips in the goat and I believe the dog blood. Okay, just soaked it all up in there. All right. And these strips weren't like the Listerine. You guys remember like those strips you would put in your mouth that were like Listerine? I used to love those in middle school. No, it wasn't those. This was a straight up belt. Okay. Do I have a belt near me? Oh, dang it, I don't. But imagine a belt just getting drenched in blood and goat skin. Okay, that stuff is like. And as the priests are running out of this cave naked, yeah, all the stuff popped off while they were naked. Okay. And any woman that was in their distance as of running out this cave, they would just pop her in the back. Pop wherever she's at, front, back, it don't matter. Pop her with the strip, and blood would then imprint on this woman's body. But okay, you're probably thinking like, like you can't be hitting a woman like that. Now, according to the paganism festival of Lupercilia, this is actually a sign that the woman will be fertile. So as they are whipped by these strips of purification, it was purifying her body to be fertile to have some good old babies, according to paganism belief systems. Okay. Now, also is believed that this festival is actually an honor as well to the she wolf that raised these two young boys who were the founders of Rome, as well as homage to the Roman god of fertility, who played a huge part in this festival. I mean, it's very drenched in sex, it's very drenched in harvesting and food, so it does make sense why, the god of agriculture, the god of fertility is acknowledged and honored during this festival. Okay? Yeah. So now whipping people with bloody belts is not the only thing going on during this festival. It's also good old matchmaking, the things that we still do today, speed dating and Tinder and Bumble and all that jazz. Now, what would happen during this time in history is women who were, single, ready to mingle, the way I imagine it happened like in a village. Just follow me here. A village of single women, single guys. And what the women would do during the festival, in an urn or a bowl or a jar, they would put their names. These names were picked at random by one bachelor. What do I mean by that? Like one bachelor would pick a name, and I don't know, uh, Vicky. I don't know. He just picked Vicky. Okay, he picked Vicky, and now him and Vicky are mates during the festival. And they were not only mates for the festival; they were mates for a whole year. Okay, so my thing is, if you didn't like the person, oh, that year would suck. You're probably thinking, I cannot wait until I get whipped again and I'm just not with you anymore. But yeah, essentially what happened, okay? So, a lot of the matchmaking in a marriage. During this festival, not everything was just, I don't know, peachy and mutual and like, oh, this is gonna make me have babies with you. Not everything was like that. This lady I met at the store one time, she told me that back in the day, they would use lipstick as blush. Well, I'm gonna try it. I probably look like a old school glass doll. Those things creep me out like really bad. But anyway, so as I was saying, as I was saying, not everything was super, I don't know, mutual and just like, oh, with me, I want to be fertile. Honor of the god of fertility. Sometimes these Greek and Roman gods were not the nicest, okay? Quick little trail. When we think of like I don't know, ooh, my cat scared me. The Greek mythical creature Medusa. Now, Medusa, according to Roman and Greek mythology, Medusa was actually a servant who was in Athena's temple to worship Athena. And it was actually legend that I believe it was Poseidon that began to lust after Medusa, raped her. And when he raped her, she ran back to Temple Athenas to have an homage of forgiveness of what had happened, to vent out to the goddess what this god had done to her. Now, depending on what perspective you view this in, Athenas was enraged and turned Medusa into the scaly creature that she's known as today. And any time Medusa would face a man, attracted to him or not, she would actually turn the man into stone forever. Now, according to the perspective you look at this as, you could see it as a empowering move. Okay, you know, man can't do that. So what I'm gonna do, I'm gonna turn you into almost this weapon against any kind of man ever harming you. No man would ever get that close to you because you can turn to stone. Now others view it as Athena being enraged with Medusa, no longer seeing her valuable to be in her temple serving her. Because the key thing was that these servants, majority of the time, had to be virgins. That's what put them in such a high value to serving these temples. And now that virginity was forcibly gone, she no longer seemed to be a high value asset to the goddess Athenas. So, depending on how you look at it, Medusa's story can either be really empowering, tragic to empowering, or tragic to tragic again. Yeah. So many of these gods actually would approach supposedly these men, or even possibly women, but to be very forceful during this festival, but in honor of this god or goddess with the promise of having children or fertility. So I guess not everything was just, before it did get outlawed, it did get more tame, I guess you can say. Like, clothes start coming back on. Oh, and this thing, okay, hold on. When I was like researching this and I was thinking about the women getting whipped, everyone had to be naked because, okay, most likely the sun was down when this festival was going down, right? And according to the research I found, this festival was celebrated everywhere. In the cave, it was celebrated in hills. It said in the Roman open air. I don't know what that means. It was just happening everywhere. People were just doing what they do everywhere, which we that thing's kind of attached to Rome, historical reputation. They did a lot of things just in front of everyone. So, okay, and I'm like, all right, if a woman's getting whipped with a belt of blood, there's no way that like she can wear dark clothes and you can see the blood, because it was like a symbol like victory, and like when you saw like a blood imprint on her. So I'm just assuming everyone was naked. Actually, it was Pope Geninius in the 5th century. He actually outlawed this festival altogether. Yeah, he was like, the whipping, the sacrificing, it has to stop. This is illegal. So where do we get this increase of romance? Obviously, this festival is very drenched in sex and sacrificing and blood, but how did it get romantic? So actually, you have to pay homage to England and France for this. So it is believed during this time in history that the mating season of birds actually happened during spring. So that's why we kept just enforcing that. Oh yeah, like Valentine's Day, romance, it has to be in February. It was actually English poet Geoffrey Chaucer, probably got that wrong, in 1375 in his poem, I think it was called The Parliament of the Fowls, that he acknowledged February 14th as a romantic celebration. Yeah, we gotta thank Joffrey for just, the burning obligation to write everyone a Valentine's Day card. Now, the oldest Valentine's Day poem that we can trace back to is actually found in 1415 by Charles, Duke of Orleans, to his wife. Yeah, beautiful. A really long name, but I think, cute. Cute. I forgot, okay, this Charles guy, I forgot to mention this. He was locked up in the Tower of London due to most likely being a prisoner of war. I'm not too sure. I think it was the Battle of Antinoch or the Battle of Aginoch that he was involved in, and yeah, he was locked up. A lot of people are in jail regarding this holiday. I just realized that. I think it's the third time mentioning someone being in prison. Before we hop away from Rome too far in this video, we cannot talk about Valentine's Day without mentioning Cupid. Now, who is Cupid? What is Cupid? Cupid, according to the research, okay, Cupid is a, dang it, Roman or Greek? Okay, no, okay. Cupid is a Roman god but his roots go back to Greek mythology. And many state in Greek mythology, he's actually acknowledged as the Greek god Eros, and this is a Greek god of love. Now, something I can say about Cupid, okay, who his mom or daddy is very confusing. It's between Nerex, Zeus, some other name, Eroe. It was just a lot of names. Okay, a lot, very confusing. But one thing that I came across that really made my skin go kind of like, okay, Zeus, who could possibly be Eros, aka Cupid's dad, could possibly also be his grandfather as well. Yeah. So Zeus, the dad, can also be the grandfather of Cupid. You know, when you go down that Greek mythology rabbit hole, it just yeah. Yeah. Some things I'm kinda like, hold on, what? Like between people dressed as cows, people eating kids, and I I could go, man. I that history had be like, okay, backtrack. Okay, go back. Okay. So one thing about Cupid that Greek mythology can center around is that he was immortal. Yeah, he didn't die. He didn't know how to die. He didn't know how to die. He was like a vampire. He didn't die. And on top of that, he was like an immortal that had a way of interacting and convincing and even luring, seducing both gods, that's plural, and humans to do anything that he wanted to do. Sow seeds of deception, lust, seduction. Yeah, I don't really know where like the whole him being in the butt came from, but he just started to do that thing, and then it just I don't know, it just kind of just never left that he did that. And when it comes to these legends and mythology, there seem to be rules when it comes to make people fall in love with you. Witches, warlocks, wizards, genies. Genies, they have like all these rules. Like, no, like I can't force someone to fall in love with you. Like we all know how Shrek ended. That sucked. I can't force someone to do that, right? But Cupid just found a way. He found a way to make things happen the way he wanted to make it happen. So I just, whatever. I don't know. I'll stop my Cupid rant. So where do we get our whole influx of just like the overconsumption of marketing when it came to Valentine's Day? That goes further down to history, away from the Greek mythology in Rome, and we actually found ourselves in Europe around the 18th century, where we begin to see our first actually handmade Valentine's Day cards. Yeah, you guys, come on. Can you imagine like how scissors were back then? Like I'm always cutting myself now, but scissors back then, yeah, they had scissors back then. Like, but it was actually in 1840, I believe. Let me check my notes. Yeah, 1840. It was Esther Howland. She was actually the first to produce the mass production of Valentine's cards that we have an idea what we have today. And it was actually the 19th century where those hand Valentine's Day cards went to print. Of course, this was due to printing advancing as well as technology. Now, we came a really long way, you guys. It went from like, I don't know, animal sacrificing to, pretty cards from people. That's pretty cool. Of course, over time, when when like the 50s, the 20s start coming around, we start really getting overconsumption of print and magazines and newspapers. Of course, Valentine's Day became like this capitalized, oh, sorry, it became like this capitalized holiday. We found ourselves watching, I don't know, car commercials and K Jewelers, and you're just like, whoa, like, this thing is crazy. Show them the aisles of, Walmart and these different stores, and you just an overpriced aisle. According to Hallmark, the company that gives us our Valentine's Day cards and our beautiful, predictable, but yet very corny and very sentimental Christmas movies, they state out a fact that on Valentine's Day alone, 145 million cards are sent out. This, of course, is coming second to the most highest day being Christmas Day. Now, side note, okay, I used to clean a warehouse. I remember I had to be out of the warehouse around 7:30 because the people will come in, like their shift start around 8. So they're, I'm not trying to, I'm dumping out the mop bucket water, and I'm taking the trash out in the dumpster. I'm not trying to, it's Saturday morning. I'm not really trying to interact that much. And I noticed that when Christmas time would come around, it wasn't the month of December that was the huge impact. No, 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 no. Like that was busy in itself, but it was the October, the late September when they were already prepping for the holiday. And when I would just walk around this dark warehouse like at 5 a.m. in the morning, I'm taking out the trash. I'm just just squeezing that mop bucket. I'm passing all like the warehouse like equipment, and it looked crazy. Just the stacks of inventory, and it just looked insane. And I just give a lot of people work at warehouses. I respect you because it's a lot of work. And could you imagine working for Hallmark at this time? The amount of paper cuts, the amount of paper cuts. So anyway, you guys, um, that's it. That's the dark history of Valentine's Day. Now, if this video educated you, if it relaxed you, or if it intrigued you, whatever it did for you, that is dark history.